Hey everyone, my name's Alexandra and I'm a watercolor artist. Welcome to part 8 of my series, Watercolor Wildflowers for Beginners. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to paint a coneflower or echinacea. Let's get started. For supplies today, I have 2 cups of water, one for clean, one for dirty water, a napkin for drying my paintbrushes. Paintbrushes, I'm using Princeton rounds, numbers 2, 6, and 8. I have a pencil just to sketch out a little bit of our flower to start. Paper, I have 140 pound cold press watercolor paper. And for paints, I'm using a combination of Winsor and Newton Series 2 and 3 paints. I'll list the specific colors below, but if you guys have some sort of green, yellow, red or pink, and orange paint, then you should be all set for this tutorial. So for our painting, we are going to do 2 flowers. Just to get started, I'm going to use my pencil to really lightly draw where I'm going to put these flowers, and then we will be able to go from there. So I'm going to do a very, very light curved line coming down sort of onto the left side, and then I'll do a taller one on the right. And that is all I'm going to draw. It's a little hard to see on here. You guys will see it easier once I add the green, but this gives us sort of just a good base to center our flowers on. So we are going to start with our flowers at the top here, starting with the center of them. So to do that, I'm going to start with an orange color. So I'm going to go into my burnt sienna here, and I want it to be just a little bit brighter, so I'll mix it with some yellow. And we're gonna layer on top of it, but to start, I have a nice watery consistency, and I'm going to paint my circle for my first flower. And I don't have it as a perfect circle. I sort of have it getting larger at the bottom, almost coming to a point at the top, but still very rounded. And then we will do the exact same thing for our other one down here. And I just have them right above where my pencil lines end. So we're going to add some more detail to these, but just to start, we'll leave it at that, and we're actually going to jump straight into painting our petals. So for our petals, to get the really beautiful pink color for the echinacea, I'm going to use a combination of my permanent rose as well as my quinacridone magenta. And we're going to start with a really light faded layer. For these flowers, all of the petals are sort of separate and on their own. So using my brush, I'm going to start with the tip of it down right at the base of the flower. And I'm adding a little bit of pressure as I come down, just to make it go wider towards the base. And one of the things that I love about these flowers is just how they sort of droop down. They look like they're opening up. The side view of them is so pretty with the way that the petals stick out. So we're coming down, making sure to leave some of this white space in between. And I'll do a few more petals. I can do them getting a little bit shorter as we come towards the top. And then I might just do one more on this side. And we're gonna let that dry, and then we'll add some more details. So now we'll do exact same thing with our other flower, mixing a bit of my permanent rose and my magenta. So tip of my paintbrush is down, and I'm adding pressure as I come down. These are such beautiful flowers, and honestly really simple to paint, which I love. Make our top petal a little shorter. Last one just up there. And I don't mind if some of them run into each other just a little bit. So next thing that we're going to do is go into painting our stem and our leaves. So I'm going back in with my number 2 paintbrush, and I'm gonna go into a mix of my green and my yellow here just to get a nice vibrant color. And coming down from my flower where I had drawn that pencil line, I'm gonna do a nice thin line coming all the way down. And then same thing for this other flower. And then once I've done that, I can go in with some of my leaves. So for this one, I'm gonna take my number 8 brush, and we're gonna go into the same mixture of my green and yellow here. And I'm getting a decent amount of it onto my brush. And I'm just gonna have fun with these leaves. So we're gonna make some nice loose ones. They sometimes have a little bit of that jagged edge, so we can work on that after. But coming out from the base of my flower, I'm starting with the tip of my brush down, and I'm applying pressure as I pull back. I'll just grab a little bit more water. And then I'm bringing it in towards my stem. But one thing that you guys will notice is I'm not having my leaf immediately connect to the stem. I'll just do that with a little line after. And I have these right now, they're a little bit too faded, so we're gonna make them a bit brighter. So I can go back in with my brush. I have more paint on here, and we'll just bring some more of that color in. And the other thing that I can do with the very tip of my brush is sort of add these little jagged edges to our leaves. Now once it's dry, I'm gonna add some more detail, but I will leave it at that for now. And I'm just gonna go in and paint a few different leaves. So I might have some that are curving over a little bit more. One of the things that you guys can do while you're painting this as well is pull up a picture of some of the flowers and just use that as a little bit of a reference for how the leaves look, how the flower looks. So I'll do again, this one here is going to be curving over a little bit more. And we're just getting some of those jagged edges in. So I'll do one more leaf on this side here, and then I am happy with how my flower's looking. All right, so now that I have the base of my flower done, you guys can do as many or as few leaves as you'd like. but we are now going to go in with some of our detail. So to add the detail, we're going to start with the center of these flowers here, and going in with my number 2 brush, what we want to do is add that really bright orange detail. So I'm actually going to mix some of my red here just because it's nice and vibrant with my yellow, and I'm just trying to get a really bright orange. And now using the very tip of my brush, I am going to be adding just tiny little almost lines or dots to the center of this flower. And it's almost like little spikes coming up. So I'm just clustering really small little lines. And once this dries, we're going to add some yellow to this just to really make it stand out. But I'm going to do the exact same thing on my other one here. Now that I've done that, continuing with my same brush, we're going to work on adding details to our petals here. So I'm going to go into a bit of a mix of my permanent rose and magenta again. And we're just going to add really fine line details to each petal. So coming from the center point, I'm pulling some lines out towards the edges. And I can have some go all the way, some just part way. Now if I want, I can even go in with a little bit of this sort of yellowy orange color that we've made and have it watered down. And this is just to add some vibrance. So coming from the base here, I'm gonna go right on top of where I've already painted. And it's just going to brighten up our flower. Now the same idea with the center of our flowers. I'm going to add a little bit more of this red-orange color just to the very, very top to make it really stand out. And now that the top of our flowers are nearly done, we can go in and add some details to our leaves now. So going back in with the sort of bright green that I've created, I'm gonna go in with my brush and just over top of what I've already painted, and we'll add in just some more depth here. So to the stem, I'm just adding some more color. Now with the same green, I might even put some kind of near the base of this flower, just so that it doesn't look like the stem is floating on its own, but it's actually cohesive with everything else. And then our next step is to add some details to the leaves. So exact same mixture that I have here with my small brush. I'm going to add in some fine lines into my leaves by using sort of a tone on tone technique here. I can get some really nice subtle detail. We'll add some really thin lines for the veins here. For some of these, it can make it almost look like it's folded in half and have our darker line on the edge and then the veins coming up. And with this, you don't really need to be too precise. We can play around with it. We want to give it that really nice natural look. Now, one of the things that I love doing with my flowers, especially my wildflowers, is trying to carry out the color that I see in the flower throughout. This gives it a really natural look. So the last thing that I'm going to do is, with my permanent rose, I'm going to take a very, very watered down version of it, and I'm just going to carry it through the stem of my flower, trying to make sure that it's only on top of the green. And what this is going to do is it's going to just bring in more colors. And if you even look at photos for reference, you'll see that the green isn't straight green. It has a bit more variation to it. So I can do that. My leaves themselves have more green in them, but I can still do that just a little bit to bring the color through. And I'm really subtle with this. I don't want to overdo it, but we're just adding in a little bit of that pink color, which you won't specifically notice, but when you're looking at your painting, you'll find that it ties everything together really well. And then the last thing that I want to do to add some more vibrance to my leaves is I'm going to go on top with a bit of a watered down yellow, and I'm just painting that into parts of the leaves. And this is just going to make them stand out so much more. It's really watered down, so it just makes the green brighter. It doesn't do a whole lot to it. And there you have a watercolor echinacea or coneflower plant. I hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and comment below what you'd like to learn next. We'll see you next time.